Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Adobe Live. Today, we've got an extra large stream with Tony Harmer. We're going for 120 minutes.
Yes! Amazing! Super
Tony,
good.
you're doing the stream, right? Yeah? You're good? You're
I
prepared?
found out just now.
Yeah, cool.
I went to watch it. It said, who's on today?
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's check in the description. Anyway, whilst we're here, let's have a look in the chat because we've got plenty of people who are very excited to see 120 minutes. Have we done a 2-hour stream before? This is my first 2-hour stream for Adobe Live, I think.
This is the first one.
Oh, first one.
Extra large stream because masterclasses, of course, are extra large.
Yeah.
And this is the first extra large, which is great. I'm looking forward to my former shirt size of extra large.
Right. Okay. And then are we doing diet streams afterwards? Is that how it works?
Diet streams afterwards, yeah. Bring it out to 10 minutes.
Just little Instagram stories and.
It's just basically like TikTok. Like 1 minute. Hi everyone. Here's how it's done.
Anyway, yeah, so in the chat, hello to Sean, Kirsty, Andreas, Anika, Michelle, Emma's in the chat. Who else we got? Oliver, Caroline, Kirsty again, Tony's in the chat, Stuart, all sorts of people. Welcome, hello. I hope your summer's doing well. We are into August. Can you believe it? It's quite a shock.
It is.
I worked out the other day. We had a first 3 months of the year was obviously blocked off with lockdown. So technically, it's now the 4th of May. So spring is here. Yeah, that's how it works.
Nice. Adjusting. Oh, when was my birthday then? Need to find out. I need to make an adjustment for my birthday. Yeah.
What are we working on today? So we're going through InDesign, which, for those of you who don't know, is one of my favorite apps ever. I don't get to use it anywhere near as much as I used to, but the whole design aspect, layout, I fell in love with typography through InDesign, and yeah, it's just a brilliant app. So I'm very excited to be going through this and hopefully learning some stuff for you. But what is the main role of today? What are you going for?
We are going to do some interactivity. We are. Some of which I've done before on the live in May, strange enough, the real May, last year. But I'm going to add in a few new things as well because we've got the time to do it. And I thought we'd kind of base it on you, Joe, I think.
Yeah, you've been sharing a few little snippets and got me a little bit nervous. I don't know what you found and what you're going to be making.
Well, I needed an image of you for something that I'll build in a minute. Actually, we'll put that together in just a minute. We'll start off. Well, I say in a minute. It'll be in a few minutes because we're just going to do a little bit of housekeeping and InDesign first.
So for those of you who are unaware, for Adobe Live and live streams with Tony is one not to be trusted in terms of where things will go. It could go haywire on all sorts. You don't know what's going to come out. Likewise, other housekeeping here. If you're new to Adobe Live and you're watching on YouTube, that's cool. You can carry on watching there. Or if you're watching the replay, then welcome back to the future, I guess, in some way. And if you want to join the chat, then come and join us on behance.net /live. And we should be there as the top one on Adobe Live. And you can add in some questions. And with this being a 2-hour stream, we should be able to get through some of your questions. And I'll take some time to scroll back through and make sure that we haven't missed anything whilst Tony is working through some InDesign magic.
Yes, going to be doing that stuff. Okay, right then, housekeeping stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close out this empty document just here, just for a minute, and go back to just InDesign with nothing going on in it. So we've got no distractions there whatsoever. And when you're working on an interactive project, or if you're taking a print document and making it interactive, you need all of the right panels in place. Now, here in the workspace switcher, you would think there's something that has all of those panels in place, but sadly, no. So we're going to make our own. Now, there are a couple which do include interactive things. We've got interactive for PDF just here, although a lot of that stuff is well and truly past its sell-by date. Okay, you can see there's very few things there involving animation. You've got hyperlinks and bookmarks. Those things are useful, okay, but that's not the things that we really need. And then we've got digital publishing, which arrived with the former digital publishing suite that was around about, I don't know, 7 years ago now, something like that, and became a whole other thing. That's got quite a few of the panels we do want. So what we're going to do is use that as the basis for the workspace that we're going to create, okay? Because there's a few more things we're going to need in here. So I'm going to create a new workspace, okay? And I'm going to call this ID Publish Online here, okay? So there we are. I'm getting a slight little bit of lag on my machine this morning, but hopefully that will clear up. There's a big download going on in the background, so perhaps that will clear up shortly. And then I'm going to modify this space. So I'm going to go up to the window menu. I'm going to come down to interactive. Okay, and I can see what I've got in here already. So I've got animation already. I don't really need bookmarks for this. I've got buttons and forms in there. The Epub interactivity preview, that is a definite one we'll want. So we'll just get that one there like so. Just going to double click on the tab and then drag that in just here like so. So we need that one. Back to interactive. Hyperlinks we should have. We have got that. Liquid layout, we don't really need that one here. So I'll skip that one. Media we have. Object states we have. Page transitions might be useful, and timing. So we'll just add page transitions just for now, although we may not actually use them. So I'll just stick those maybe in the middle just here. There we go. That's it. Once I've done that,
a little bit like setting up your desk, right? And laying out your pencils and your ruler and your protractor, and then you look there and you think, do I need my spirit level? Yeah. Do I need my marker pen?
Watercolors. Yep.
Yep. All sorts of things. Yep. I was definitely that kid at school who had the oversized pencil case with far too much stuff in it. But I was also one of those people who had a lot of very nice pens that, someone would always come and be like, can I borrow a pen? I ain't got one. And then I never saw them again all the time.
Yeah,
that's what you get.
I was a bit like that as well, Joe. Yeah, but it is so one of my wife's cousins is a TV chef, and he would tell you there's a French term for getting everything ready to do a job, and in cookery they call it mise en place. It's a French term, means get all the tools, get everything where you need it to work with, and it's pretty much like that, mise en place. Yeah. So getting it there. Now I've done that, I just need to overwrite my definition of InDesign Publish Online. So I'm actually going to go new workspace again and simply give it the same name, like so. Okay, and if I hit OK, it tells me it already exists. Do I want to replace it? Yes, I do. And that means at any point, I can switch my workspace. So if I was working in advance, and then I wanted to go, right, I'm ready to go ahead and create an interactive document, then I could just go back and choose InDesign Publish Online. Everything there, mise en place, instantly. There you go.
There we go.
I don't know the French word for instantly. It would have been so cool if I could have said that, but there you are. I'm going to pretend something like instantement. Probably is. But I don't know. So once we've done that, because I don't have an existing document for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new one, so a from scratch project. So I'm going to go ahead and choose new document. I think that what I'm going to do here is go for 1080p. Most screens that we carry around these days, I mean, these things I don't know what they're. I mean, it's a slightly different resolution kind of thing, but I mean, these are capable of all sorts of mad resolutions these
There was a
days.
time
So,
when I was able to recollect all the screen resolutions of Apple devices it was when responsive design was sort of coming about, and obviously
yeah,
working a lot on Macs meant that quite often you designed it for Mac first, pretty much. And then iPhones just went all over the place on resolutions. I
yeah,
haven't got a clue what they are now.
yeah,
There's
and
far too many options.
it's not the same equation because it's DIP measurements, so device independent pixels that they use rather than that, because it's the
Yeah,
join in the middle of all the crazy stuff.
a bit
So
more like the point measurement rather than
yeah,
pixel. Yeah,
and pixel, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
But I mean, there are thousands, millions maybe of screen resolutions. It's a wild west.
Do you know it is? And I'll tell you where it there used to be a really good website that had all the different screen resolutions on it from different manufacturers. And this was a question I used to get asked a lot about why some things. So I get being asked it quite a bit at the moment now. People say, is Photoshop going to be available on the iPad? Sorry, on devices other than an iPad, and why isn't it on Android and whatever? And if you actually look at, because Android, it can be deployed by anybody really, and you buy sheets of Gorilla Glass in 8x4 sheets, 8 feet by 4 feet sheets, you can divide that up however you want to for your device. That's the problem, because Apple devices, you're only looking at 2 different aspect ratios across a number of devices. So it's fairly easy to produce an interface for that and get something working. The difficulty comes in, of course, when you need things to stretch in many directions at the same time. That's the complexity. But and Android is the culprit for so many so many resolutions. But yes, we'll do 1080p just here, which is fine, because if it's on a device that doesn't match with the aspect of 1080p, it will be letterbox content anyway, so that's handy, and that'll be fine, and that's a letterbox that most people can live with. I'm going to save this straight away into here. I've got my Joe's Travels folder ready to go, and I'll just call this Joe's Travels there, like so. And so that's ready and nice and safe. Want a few things to pop in here now. So first of all, I think I'll have a little bit of fun in Photoshop, Joe. So I needed a picture of you.
Oh no.
And so I went to the Googles and I found many pictures of you, many of them lovely, some of them lots of good fun to be had there. So there was one I found. It's vanished now. There was one I found earlier. It truly has gone. This surely isn't you, is it?
Yep, that is me. Yep.
Yeah. Should you use that one?
So this is part of, I did a 365-day project in 2009. Took a picture of myself every day. Sometimes it was like a self-portrait, other times it was me doing something or whatever it happened to be during the day. And yeah, compiled it in. So the one you were looking at there, I think I quickly saw it was day 340 something. But yeah, that was 2009, January 1st to December 31st.
Fantastic. Well, I think the one that we've got that we're going to use here is this one, Joe, because I've actually already copied that one out and got it ready to go into Photoshop. We'll use this one here because that's relatively recent, that one, isn't it?
That would be 2016 in my happy place, Shinjuku, Tokyo, Japan.
I've never been to Japan. It's on my list, but
still on my list. I've been plenty of times.
Not got there just yet. There we are. Right. So all I want from this, Joe, is I want your lovely face. So I am going to actually do this in quick mask mode. I'm just going to tap Q here on my machine, and I want a brush. So I'm going to tap B for that. I am using a hard round brush here. I've just step the hardness off just a tiny bit there. And I'm pretty much going to paint the mask in, like so, because it doesn't need to be sort of a high quality mask. Yeah. because it's going to be fun. It's just going to be a fun cutout
Okay.
from there. I noticed, by the way, in my searching that you've got a picture of me on your website.
You know what? I've been wondering this for a good while.
Yeah.
There was an Adobe event I went to in 2014, I think it was, or maybe 2015.
Victoria House, yeah.
And made a tote bag. And for ages, I've been thinking, was it Tony who was running me through the app, doing some of the event? But I don't think I had like a clear clip of audio or anything. So I couldn't quite match it up. I was like, I think it's Tony, but it might be someone else. You didn't have a beard then, maybe? Or
I didn't have a beard, no.
Yeah, see, so much identity in a beard.
I also had so many more chins than I do now.
Is this referring back to the former shirt size?
The former shirt size, yeah. So, yes, I was carrying a bit more weight then. Living the high life of Adobe. But there we are.
You know what, that single video sparked a whole relationship with Adobe. I credit so much to that single event of going on to, working with them multiple times on my YouTube channel, and then as that's transpired over the years, and then coming to do all these live streams and other things, it all stemmed from this random email I got saying, hey, we got an event about Creative Cloud. Do you want to come along? And I think it might have mentioned like free drinks or something. I was like, I'm there. And from that event, I decided to vlog it, and the rest is, I guess, kind of history.
Yeah, there you are.
I always use that event as an example of when people ask about, how do you get to work with certain brands and things? And my answer is always just make the work you want to be hired for, make the things that you want to be noticed for. And that is the exact example. I wanted to work with Adobe on things, so I made a video about Adobe. There we go.
That's how it works. You just do. You do get yourself noticed. You put enough stuff out there, and you make it. And you're very good with managing your quality control and all of that good stuff.
All right, so we're going for a rendition of the mask here.
We are. So that mask is just fine as it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of quick mask mode. I'm going to tap Q. That was how I was in that particular mode. And then I'm going to copy, and I'm going to pop across to Illustrator. I don't quite know what the lag is doing with my machine. Here we are. Interesting. Right, I'll engage it from down here. There we go. So we've got a nice vehicle just there.
It's almost like that Mr. Bean episode where he sat on top in the armchair.
Yeah. Oh man, I copied the wrong mask.
Oh, inverted.
I did. Yeah, I forgot to invert the mask. Glad I didn't close that document out now. There we are. So let's invert the selection. Okay, I'm just going to cut it here just to make sure that that is the thing I want. It is. And back down to here. Perfect. There we go, Joe. That'll be nice, I think. I'm going to just cant you over to a jaunty angle. Totally believable, that is.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we'll call that layer Joe. There we are. Superb. Right, grand. That's fine for now. I could, I guess, I was thinking about outlining that, but I think I'll leave it as it is. So I'm just going to save that, and that will be ready to work with shortly. There we go. And then I'm going to come across and quit Photoshop because I don't need that now. I'm just wondering if that's what's causing the lag issues. Just here. There we are. Right. Happy with that? Not offended, I hope.
No, looks great. To be honest, I think it's probably a great image selection from the start. It's a strong central face. It's not like it's cropped out of a corner. Like that was the focus of the photo. So there we go.
Yeah. No, it worked really well. So a lot of the pictures of you, are you doing your job in which you want to look well, you are just doing your job. So, you're looking
Yeah.
professional at that, and you're looking like you're thinking about what you're going to photograph, which is what you want to bring across. So, it's not a good idea for super holiday snap time for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to quit Illustrator as well, actually, while I'm
Okay.
there. So I'm just going to get that
There
because
was
I don't need it.
mention in there of good textures on the car, and I agree.
Like them.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I put some of those textures in live. I think I did a little Sunday afternoon live. I just thought I'm sitting here drawing, so I might as well just share what I'm doing. But yeah, Texturino, I've got to thank for those textures initially, in the most part, but other things that I've photographed and used. Okay, let's do, before we go to InDesign any further, let's go ahead and launch Adobe Animate. So let's just see Adobe Animate. There we go. Of course, at one time, Flash.
Yeah.
You ever use this?
I've not used Animate, actually. That's probably one of the few apps I've not used, but Flash definitely had a lot of experience with around 2005-ish. Built my first websites in Flash before I knew how to code, and that was kind of my my sort of getting started point. And every time I came back to it to update the website, I'd forgotten how to use it, so I'd have to rebuild the whole thing every time.
This was back when it was Flash. So I've worked with this product because, of course, all of the Flash component, it will still output Flash, but of course, there's no Flash player anymore, not supported any further. That's gone. But I mean, originally, this was an application called Future Splash Animator, and it was sold by a company called Wave Technologies. I bought into it at that point, so which I think was 1995 or 96, somewhere in that region. Yeah, and it's just gone through this evolution. I was a Macromedia instructor before I was an Adobe instructor. This was the first product in which I certified.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Actually, yeah, that would have been, my first instance with Flash and Dreamweaver and Fireworks as well.
Yeah.
Were all when they were still Macromedia.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. And I think it was, when was the acquisition? 2000, something like that, wasn't it? Or a little bit later than that. Yeah.
I think 2007, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, crazy. Right, I'm going to use an HTML5 Canvas just here. Loads and loads of different things that this will output to now. It's just absolutely crazy of what it works with. But Canvas just here will do. I did nothing at all there to change the size. This is 1920 by 1080. I don't think I really need that to be that height the whole way across. So what I'm going to do is just unlock those two. And I think I'm going to halve this. I think I'm going to make it, I might even quarter it. So if it was 1080, that would be 540. So I'm going to go with 300 just there. So 1920 by 300, that will do. Okay, so I want a nice narrow document. Yeah.
Question here. I guess this is ahead of when we get to InDesign. Will you be using the In5 plugin? I've not heard of that.
No, I won't. No,
okay.
It's a good plugin. I won't be using it though for this particular one. Yeah, no, there's loads of things you could use to do this. You could even use Tumult as well, so you can use that to create stuff for what we're doing here. But no, I'm going to keep it all within the stable. So there we go. Right, and then I'm going to import some stuff. So I'm going to import my stage. Okay, right, I'm going to bring in from my desktop. I'm going to bring in this Illustrator file just here. Okay, and then I should get some further options. So it shows me all of the layers that I have in here. Okay, it's crazy, crazy, crazy amount of paths in there. And what I might do is I might actually So this is the great thing in here, because it will actually go to all of the sub layers here. So what I could do is change to import this rear wheel to save it trying to render all those textures, say import that one as a bitmap. I could also get it to create a movie clip at the same time. So I'll do that. Now, really important here, okay, when you're naming things, you have to stick to a naming convention that's supported by the W3C. Yeah. So spaces are an absolute no-no. Yeah. Starting things with a number are generally not a good idea. Okay,
is this based off of JavaScript by any chance then?
The things with numbers, yeah, definitely. It's never a good idea to start a particular class or object with a number. Yeah, but no spaces. Spaces will cause everything to fail, because a space is what we see is a space, of course, but in a machine, it has a different code to represent that. And most people have seen it in a browser. They put a space into something and they'll see %20 inside of there. And that's what a space actually is. And of course, it needs to match things perfectly. So I've used concatenation just here, or camel casing, as some people call it. So I've got uppercase things to show where there's a new word. I'm going to do the same thing here with the front wheel. Now, I could have just one wheel and be efficient with it if I wanted to, but I want to have both because they're textured slightly differently. Okay, so this one I'll call front wheel.
Just hearing you say concatenation, that's the first time I've probably heard anyone ever say it. Whenever I've read it in the menus, I've always read it in a northern voice. Concatenation. I've just always read it like that.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could see
and
that,
alongside things like in iTunes where you consolidate library, that's where we put all your music together.
I wonder why that is, because you're not northern, are you? Mind you, I often think of you as being northern, but you're not. Yeah.
No, I'm a Somerset boy.
Where in Somerset?
I'm from Weston-super-Mare.
Right, Weston-super-Mud, amazing.
Yeah, not that I shout about it too often, but yeah, no, I was born in Weston-super-Mare, grew up on the seaside, and then 18 straight to London.
There you go. There you go. I did not know that. I used to live in Somerset. I lived in Street.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah.
So there you go.
Clark's
Well,
Village.
I lived in Glastonbury, then I lived in Street, then I lived in Walton, which is on the way to Weston-super-Mare from Street. So Clark's Village, yes.
There we go. Right, maybe we go back even further than that Adobe event.
You never know. I used to teach at Strode. So
yeah.
But you probably didn't go to college in that area. You probably went. Did you go to Bridgewater?
No, I went to Weston College. It was
we went to Weston.
Brilliant course, graphic design. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Right, here we go. There we are, done. Convert the layers to animate layers. Okay, place the objects at their original position, which saves me doing that. I've got a little incompatibility report here, should I need to check it, which I'm going to. It tells me that it's fine. It's got no incompatibilities inside of there, which is really good. Fab, all of those things are okay. And if I hit import, theoretically, we should end up with this vehicle just there. I'm just going to tap Q on my keyboard I'm amazed I remember these things. I haven't touched this for absolutely ages.
There was a message in the chat saying about all these old apps are just a bit like muscle memory. And it's so true. You open something up after months or years without using it, it just comes straight back.
Amazing, isn't it? Just absolutely amazing. Right, so let's resize that slightly differently. There, that will do, because I want a bit of wobble in there, which would be really good. Good. I'm going to zoom in on that just a bit. Same keyboard shortcuts, Photoshop, of course, Command Plus, and Illustrator and Design, Command Plus to zoom in. With an object selected, it centers it on the screen, which is handy. Now here, I have got a series of movie clips. Okay, that's the way Flash handles consolidated objects inside of a file, and they're the things that can be animated. If you just draw shapes, they can have some things done to them, but they're not easy to animate. So I've got all of these different bits here, and I am going to turn the collection of all of these things, let me just go to my timeline so you can see them. Here they are in their layers, just here. I'm going to turn all of these into one big movie clip. So I want them nested essentially inside of another movie clip. So I will do that. So I'm going to, let me see if I can do it through the menu system. Convert symbol, just there. Okay, and we'll call this car, like so. Okay, and that is all just fine. You've got a whole bunch of little options should you need them in here.
Just going to point out, someone in my block has started drilling, masonry drilling. So if you can hear that.
Yeah, I could just hear that a little bit. Yeah, it's all right. We're all good. I'm surprised the dogs aren't freaking out outside. They normally are when I'm doing this. All cool people can hear is the dogs or babies or any of those things. Right. So what's happened here is that's had the net result of clearing effectively all of those other layers, but that's just fine. So there they are. That's nested together, and I'm going to double click on that. Okay, which should take me into those different objects. Can you see that? So I can move around inside this clip. If you look at the top here, I'm just trying to indicate loosely at the top. I wonder if I've got mouse pose on this machine, actually. I do not. Sad, because otherwise I could have shown you. But anyway, if you look at the top corner, just down beneath that, you can see a club sign just there, so edit symbols, and you can see the hierarchy. If you're an Illustrator user, you'll be really familiar with that. It's the same as going into isolation mode. Okay, and going into an object. In fact, that's the kind of a link between those things.
Do the same as Illustrator where you double click? That take you to that, or
Yeah, that's in fact that is actually what I did. But I'm just navigating through there because I actually went in a level too far. I double clicked, unfortunately, on the vehicle movie clip just there, and so I just used the breadcrumb trail at the top. Okay, to change that. So here I've got some that need to be out on their own layer. Okay, or I could animate them separately. That might be advantageous. I'm just having a think for a moment. No, I want those to be animated in this particular level of the group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a few different layers here. I'm going to add another layer and another layer and another layer. And I'm just going to name all of these layers here so I know what I'm doing. So I'll call this one vehicle, just there, and the one above I'm going to call F wheel for front wheel, or F well, as I've done just there. This one here, R wheel for rear wheel, and this one here, Joe. There we go. Excellent. Superb. Now I need to work out a cycle for how long this is going to animate over. Now, one of the things I have here, this is very much like working in Premiere because you have to give something a frame rate. Yeah, so over how long actions will be. Now this is automatically set to 30 frames per second here, which is actually exactly what I wanted, but I could change that if I needed to. If I wasn't too worried about the fluidity of the animation and I wanted to optimize for download speed rather than the fluidity, yeah, or if I wanted to do something that I purposely wanted it to be jerky in there, I could lower the frame rate right the way down. But 30 is just good there. We've got a nice fluid animation for that. Okay, and what I'm going to do then is I'm going to come along to these layers. So I'm going to go to rear wheel just here. I'm going to right click on that. Okay, and I think what I'm going to do is create a classic tween. Okay, so that creates me a tween just here. And right on the very end there, I need to add a keyframe. So it needs to be another key event. I wonder why that's giving me that. Hold on just a second. Let me just back up there. Just want to go back to that. I'm wondering why it's not letting me create. Oh, it's because I haven't moved the stuff out onto the layers. Right, that would be a very, very useful thing to actually do. So what I'm going to do is cut things I want to move. Making the layers is one thing. Putting the things on them is another. Okay, so I've got the front wheel just there. And this one just here. There's perhaps a more elegant way I could have done this, but just using a paste in place command here so they're all on different things. There we go. Good. Right. So this time, again with feeling, I'm going to right click and say create a motion, a classic tween. I'll do a classic tween with this one and add a keyframe at the end here. So we need to specify a key event between the two things. I'm also going to make this run over, I'm trying to just imagine 2 seconds. So I'm going to take this keyframe to frame 60, just there. I'm going to do the same for the rear wheel. Actually, if I animate this one first, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to rotate this around. Now, this is not circular because I do actually want to see some of that motion going along. So somewhere in here, I should be able to see the rotation angle, which is interesting. Give me just a second.
Oh, go back to, there was a rotate.
What's
on
that?
frame, I think it was.
Yeah, it should be around.
And then you got rotate drop down with auto. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes. I want to go clockwise. Okay. And I want to do, I think I can do this as a decimal. So if I do 0.9.
There's a question in here of, can you isolate a symbol, which is what we've got here, I believe, animate that, and then have it change across multiple things? So could you, if you had multiple instances of the symbol, could you have that repeat in the same way of like a composition in After Effects?
Yeah. So you create a nested symbol for that. So a nested symbol will, and then you could just use that wherever.
I see.
Yeah, so that would work. That would work. Now I'm just going to scrub the timeline here. Look at that. It's going to be lovely. The only thing is by specifying the rotation in that way, right, is that by rotating it this way, it's actually going to.
We're in reverse.
Sorry.
It's in reverse, isn't it? If we go clockwise.
Hang on a second. You might be right, actually. Yeah, it always catches me out this bit. I think, is it?
Yeah, if it's going clockwise, the car would need to go backwards.
You are correct.
I mean, you never know. We could be traveling back in time in this car.
Let's have a quick look. That still looks like it's going in the same direction.
Is it possibly the frame rate of it is having the effect of, like when you film a car and the car, the spokes of a wheel match up with the frame.
Cartwheeling.
Go anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, cartwheeling. I want to do that a different way. I'm actually going to not put that into the tweening just there. I'm going to do it by transformation. Reason being, I don't want it to go to one whole revolution, because that will have the effect of it looking like it stutters slightly as it goes round to the same place, because there'll be 2 frames there. Now, admittedly, it's over a 30th of a second. Yeah, but I don't really want to do it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball this going around. So is that? I've forgotten where the thing is now. There should be a thing that gives me the rotation value. But I'd be hecked if I can find it at the minute. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about it too much just now, I think. So a quick check in that object. There we go. And I'm going to do this. What I should do is work out the number of degrees. All right, so 360 divided by 30 is 12. So I need to take 12 off 360. So 350, 348. So if I go ahead and change that, there we are. 348. There we go. All right, so let's just try that out. now and see what happens just there. Ah, right. I can tell you where there's a problem. Right, can you see this small plus at the top here?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only thing with this is because of the way I made it, that's actually the registration point of the document, which is interesting. It appears to be rotating, but it's not. So I might have to use, I'll use the other way just for the time being, you know, it'll be easier. So I'll just reset that rotation just there to 0 and use the frame just for the minute. Otherwise I'll soak up the 2 hours doing that. Oh dear. Right.
There's questions in here of
yeah.
What's the preference for using Adobe Animate versus something like After Effects for this? Is it just because of the simplistic nature of the animation?
It is partly because of the simplistic layer animation, but also because one, I think people should be aware that this can happen too. Rather than creating a movie for this content, what you're actually doing is just producing a very, very small amount of pixels for this, and the rest is JavaScript.
Right.
Yeah. So the rest of this, the whole animation will take place using code, which will make it more efficient from a file size point of view than it would do if it were one long movie. Otherwise, we'd have to make a movie that was 1080 by 300 for this. Oh, sorry, 1920 by 300, and then we'd have to have each one of those frames, even with dropping content, each one of those frames. We need to do it. I don't know why that's not rotating, but there we are. This is why I prefer the. I'll try it from here. Let's do that. There we are. Let's try that out. There we go. That's fine. I'm not worried about the other content disappearing. All right. So this one, same again. I'll create a classic tween just there. This one will be slightly quicker. Go to the end here, F6. Go to this first frame and choose counterclockwise. One rotation is good there. This one, sorry, the vehicle itself, all I'm going to do is go here and add just a frame. It doesn't need to be a keyframe because nothing there is particularly happening. Okay, so it's just doing that. Although we could, if we wanted to, I'm going to change my mind now. I'm going to put that back to a keyframe. I'm going to go to the middle or to a third of the way along. I'm going to add a keyframe just there, and I'm going to go 3/4 of the way along, add a keyframe just there, and then I am going to rotate this, okay, around. So I'm going to get the vehicle and to select it at that particular point. I'm going to move this small marker just here, okay, down towards the bottom. That will change where it's transformed about. Okay, and then I'm just going to tilt that downwards like so. We'll go to the next, bumpy. A little bumpy. There we go. Let's drop that down because every little helps to add to the illusion in here. There we go. And then all I need to do is select those 3 keyframes, okay, and tell it to create a classic tween. And so now if I just play that out, okay, we should. What is going on with that less than last frame? What is going on there? I've just got to point out that should not be happening.
There's nothing really to suggest it's up or down in the first or last frame. So is it just a render?
No, issue? It's because of the it's the transformation point. I'll show the transformation point well alone. There we go. That will do. I'll get that fixed in a second.
Oh, we're going over a real big bumpy there.
We are going over a real big bumpy. We're going to fix it though. We'll bring that up a little bit there, like so. I could also reset that point, but there we are. That will do. I mean, with wheels like that, to be honest, yeah, that would be bouncing.
Yeah, you're going to be all over the place.
Yeah, it would. And then we'll just go to you, just here, okay, and we'll add a keyframe at the end, just there. We'll stick one in kind of the middle, just here, okay, and then we'll just jaunt you over just a tiny bit. Normally, just to point out, normally I don't. I bring the assets in and then turn them into movie clips afterwards, because the problem that's going on here is the registration point. That's the difficulty that I've got here, and that now it's causing me problems further downstream. But I've kind of forgotten about those things. I decided at the last minute to add this in. You look like you're having a great time there, Jane. So let's just play that. Yeah, that kind of works though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll go
it.
with that. We'll go with that. We'll go back out to scene 1, and I'm going to do Command 2 here, so I can see the whole of the timeline. Technically, I shouldn't need these layers just here, so I'm going to get rid of those. And actually, I'll zoom out slightly. I'm going to take this car over to the edge, just there, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to right-click here and create another classic tween for this. And I want to kind of work out how long I want to take it over there. And the way I do this without storyboarding it is to actually visualize it in my head. So I visualize the thing going across, and then I count it just loosely in my head. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 is about right. Yeah, I think for that. So I need to add 7 at 35, be 150, 180, 210. So I need to scroll along a bit to frame 210, just here. So if I can find that. The other thing is, of course, Joe, is that people have access to all of this stuff. Right? You should use it.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the thing.
I've never opened it. I don't think I've actually installed it to have a look. So yeah, both this and Character Animate are 2 motion-based apps that I've never used.
I love Character Animator. So good. So let's just run that. That's just fine. The nested animation there isn't playing, but I know about that, and that's good. So, but we've essentially got the motion I want. Now, I could use test mode in this to see what it would look like with all of the animations running. So to do that, it's the Command key or Control on Windows and return, and it will create me a window, and you can see how that's going. See, that's kind of engaging, and that little lump is quite funny.
It's like we're creating a little banner ad.
It is. Or flash banners back in the day, as they were. Right. Horrible things. Right.
Just thinking a different way of animating this. You know, you've gone for the moving across the scene, but a different way could be to have like the Flintstone style of have the background move and the car stay stationary.
Yeah, it can do that. Can do that as well. Absolutely. The only thing is I want this to go over the top of other content. That's the way I used to teach it, actually. I used to teach people. I just used to have the car moving in that way, and then have a panoramic background scrolling behind it. But yeah, can learn a lot from those things. I've got a fantastic book somewhere on Hanna-Barbera animation. Well, it's over there. Right, let's just call this car animation. Okay, and do that, animate document. Right, what I need to do now with this particular document is work out how it's going to be published. So I've got my publish settings in this region just here. Okay, and this is the default here, Flash and HTML wrapper. Okay, and I don't want to use that. I want to use an OAM package. Okay, so that's a different thing. And I think if I get to that point and I can't do it, what I need to do is convert this to HTML5 Canvas, which is what I thought I chose in the first place. But anyway, we'll go with that. There we are. Okay, we'll just overwrite the existing one. Cool. Okay. Unable to convert the document type. That's a little bit worrying. It's working just fine. Let's try again. So we'll stop that where it is. And let's see now. The way to tell is if, right, okay, got to do it again. This time I'll let it just rename itself. New document generated successfully. See, very helpful because it just wanted that extra bit. Now, with the document here, I can go to the publish settings. Okay, so let's just do Command 2 to get it all into there. In fact, zoom out slightly. How's the chat going? Everybody's very quiet today.
Yeah, I think there's some mentions here of a few other books actually on animation. So some
The Illusion of Life.
where we go.
I can pretty much
Animator's
lay
Survival
my
Kit
hands
is another.
Yeah, got that.
Another one.
Yeah.
Disney
I can see
Animation.
The Illusion of Life from here. Yeah, it's a lovely book. Do you want me to fetch it? It's a very good book.
Page 1.
Anyway, back to the job. It is. It's what a great thick book. It's gorgeous though. Absolutely gorgeous.
Nice.
Right. This is the way to know that you're on the right path. Right. So you've got to convert it to a Canvas document. Okay. Even if you started with a Canvas document, apparently. Okay. And once you've done that, when you go to your publish settings, you won't see Flash mentioned in there at all. Okay. Right. What you will see is publish it as JavaScript and HTML. Okay. And then you've got this other formats region and you want the OAM package. Okay.
Okay.
That's
Do you know what OAM stands for?
I think it's something open animation, something, I think. Not sure.
Media.
Yeah. Could be. Could be. They were
old age media.
Old age media.
Discount on Wednesdays.
B&Q.
Yeah.
I'm going to tap publish just here. So it's done that. Right. It tells me, okay, exactly what it's done just here. So I'm just going to hit OK. It tells me it has generated 4 bitmaps into one sprite sheet. Now, a sprite sheet is like a whole series of images. In fact, we might be able to open it in a minute. I'm not going to promise, but we might be able to do it. And what it will do is it will sequentially display different parts of that image, which will give you the illusion of animation. It's a very, very common way of creating it, because what you used to do before that, this arrived, before sprite sheets arrived, is you'd have to create a whole load of separate files. And each file has a thing called a header, which describes the file to the system. And that slows the system down in rendering. Whereas if you've got one file open, just displaying part of that file is much, much more efficient. Yeah, even web interfaces are done with sprite sheets. You can go and investigate that on something like Amazon, have a look, and you'll see you can get sprites for most of the things there. Frame numbers in Easel.js. So Easel.js is a framework. Okay, start at 0 instead of 1. Okay, which is a 0-based index. You know JavaScript, so you'll know a lot about that. Okay, and modifying the transform point in a tween can produce unexpected results, as we have just seen. So we'll find out how this one works in just a minute.
Okay.
So now we've done that, I'm just going to save that document here like so. Okay, and I'm going to, do I quit it? I'll wait until I've had a look at it in InDesign actually. So I'll go to InDesign. And let's try loading that.
Is there a reason why you prefer that over an SVG?
No, you could do it as an SVG as well. SVG would be a very, very efficient way to do it because SVG can have nested image content. SVG can be animated. No, if you knew your way around that, I just wanted to give people an accessible way of doing it, right? Because a lot of the people on here are visual people. They don't have a problem with working with visual assets. What they do have a problem with is perhaps approaching code at the current stage many people are in there. So this gives you a way of creating that content that's lean and efficient, but without, with a much shallower learning curve. Yeah, without code. So no, you could use it. SVG would be a very, very good way to do it, and you could do that as well. I'm going to just test it out here in InDesign. However, what I'm going to do is place as an asset. I'm not really ready for that just yet, but here it is, car animation, HTML5 Canvas, OAM, just there. Okay, and bring that in. And so just like any other asset, I'm going to move to this point here, click and add it. Now, at the moment, we won't see anything. And the reason for that is the animation starts outside of the document boundary. Okay. And InDesign doesn't have a way to preview that in this particular state. However, it does have this particular panel, which is called the Epub Interactivity panel. I'm actually going to move that in my layout up to the top here, right, because I just want to resize it, make it big style. Alarming me slightly that it's not redrawing the contents of the panel. That's a little bit of a worry, because it should do. Okay, we'll just persist with it and see what happens. So I'm just going to test the contents here. I had this morning. I had to quit. I just did a quick run through of a couple of things before starting. Let me just take that out a second. I'm just going to cut to the clipboard and just drop some text here. Let's just make that nice and big so we can see it. Just want to make sure InDesign is rendering. If not, I will quit it and relaunch it. Let's have a quick look. So try again for this. Okay. Well, there's another way for me to invoke that panel. Okay. And let me just try. And
it's a mention in the chat of having codophobia. And Stuart has followed on to say, I don't think I can fit anything else in my head. I understand some written code and what it can do, but not enough, not doing it enough for it to stay in the head. And right. I totally understand where you're coming from. And that when I was getting started with coding on things, it took me a long time until eventually, I think it was someone who just showed me just the connection between something simple as like HTML and CSS, because I'd always seen them individually, but never really knew how to combine the two together. And then as soon as that connection was made, that was enough of a spark to then run with it. So sometimes it's all about just finding that spark that catches what you need to learn. But yeah, I totally understand when things can be so overwhelming, it's because you haven't found that little connection, that spark.
That's it. It's just the key, Gene key. I'm going to quit InDesign.
Yeah, no worries.
And I'm going to relaunch it. So let's just go ahead and do that again. So give that just a minute to go. How are we doing on time? We're approaching that. Oh,
we are approaching the 50% mark. Oof. Just another note on coding. One of the best things that I've learned from coding is not so much the actual coding aspect, but it's just the way it makes you think, and you can apply it to so many other areas of your life. The whole don't repeat yourself, and just the way of thinking efficiently all comes from just thinking as a developer. I do highly encourage any sort of beginner aspect into learning how to code. It makes you think differently on everything. It's brilliant. I love it.
I would genuinely like to see what your structural markup skills are like, but honestly. So that's the thing.
Plenty of notes. That's another thing. Learned that from my days of Flash, always opening and not knowing what I was previously doing. When I got into coding, it was, okay, I'm going to put notes and comments everywhere so that when you reopen it, you help your future self out.
Yes. I'll keep doing the wrong shortcut for that. It's slightly different. Hold on a minute. Right, well, the OAM file at the moment, so this has gone back to rendering the page, but at the moment it's choking on OAM, so I'm going to just remove the OAM for a minute, and we'll come back later on once InDesign's behaving properly. And here, I should also have just checked. Let me just go back to the document here. The other thing, check in my more settings option. Okay, OAM package option here is make sure there should be, if a looping a timeline is great. I just want to make sure anything.
I think it could be having a bit of lag on your overall computer. We're,
Ah,
we're, we're starting to go underwater.
oh,
I think the AirPods are fine. It's probably just the connection.
I'm not on a shared connection here, and I'm on a 150 gig connection. So it shouldn't be, but that worries me. It might be the machine, of course, not the connection, because the connection's
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
All right at the moment.
Audio is just sometimes a little bit wobbly, but I think with patience, we're good.
That's possibly Bluetooth. What I could do, if I need to, Tim just whispers in my ear, I'll switch the audio over to the camera. Like that. Just give me 2 secs. Let me go ahead and change the audio over. That means I'll have to use my speaker probably. Let's change that to.
Glad to see in the chat. Oh, yep, different room. Here we go. Sounds good.
Is it okay?
Yep. No, that's good.
Bubbliness is gone.
There we go. We hear you loud and clear.
Oh,
yeah, it's good to see. Good to see in the chat. Continuing the talk of coding and the best way to help web guys out and developers on your team is to learn a little bit of code, and helps you design for them if you know a little bit about how their work works.
Yeah, it does. It's good. It does makes things a lot smoother. Right. Okay. I think we're okay on that. I was just checking for any autoplay option in there, but it looks like you don't actually need that anymore, so that's just fine. I'll hit OK on there. Let's see if InDesign has rectified itself as a result of that. Okay. Right. Well, the OAM, just to be awkward, the OAM appears to not be rendering at all. It does render, I promise you. We'll make something simpler in a bit just to come back to it. But for now, I think we'll stick with just using assets from InDesign. Okay, good. Right. So we've got a library, Joe, haven't we?
Yep.
Loading right now. Oh, wow.
Dropped a load of images for you.
Whoa. So let's pick one as a cover on here. If you've got any particular preference, you tell me.
Oof.
I kind of think is that Toronto?
No, that is Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia.
That would be nice.
One of my
nice.
That's actually I don't have one to hand, but that's the image I use on my postcard that I hand out to people.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to bring that in and use that. I think I'm going to drop that on here. Okay. I'm going to double check the size of this document as well.
So these ones I resized for you to 1080. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm just going to check the document setup here because that's okay. That's fine. It's just bringing it for some reason, dropping it in at a very odd size. I'm just going to go for my links here and have a check. Yeah, okay, that's fine. It'll be okay for now anyway. So I'm just going to hold down Shift and Command and just resize this just a bit. Yeah, so I say just a bit. I'm going to make it huge. And to make up the extra space, I was going to have a layout thing with the side here anyway, so I think I'll do exactly that. I'm going to create a rectangle just there. Okay, and I'm going to fill that with black. So I'm tapping D to get the default, which in InDesign, unless you tinker with it, is no fill and a black stroke. Hold down Shift, tap X to swap those two over. Then I'm going to go ahead and create a text frame. Okay, and put your name inside of it. Just make that bigger. I'm going to use the top here. Okay. It's about the third time I've gone to type a semicolon. Things. Right, I think we're going to keep things nice and simple, and we're going to go with Helvetica Noi
Have you
so
seen
much stuff's gone?
Helvetica Now that was launched, I believe, last year or 2019, possibly?
Do you know, I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's Monotype's new like ultra modernized version for all sorts of screens and yeah, just slight shifts on the way that it renders on smaller sizes. Because yeah, Helvetica Neue was released, I want to say, kind of at the start of when the internet started to get popular, so it was not really, you know, as forward thinking as we might have thought. But Helvetica Now, really, really clean and tidy. And also the website, the design for it, very inspiring. Seeing all the animation of the type moving around. It's a good little showcase.
Is it a variable? Is it one that uses a variable? Is it a variable?
I think it might do, yeah. It's got multiple different weights and very flexible in between them. Yeah, it's a cool showcase of the tech that typography has adopted in recent years.
Nice. I mean, InDesign does now, I believe, support variable fonts. And just in case there are people watching who have not seen what a variable font looks like, let's just go ahead and edit this for a second. So if I go to Acumen variable concept just here, so it's a way of including many different weights, but rather than having them as separate members of a family, they are inside the same font. And so they can be, because of that, they can be changed dynamically much more easily than calling for another font with a variant. So if you've got a thing where you're designing for different screen sizes, and there's a thing with the lower you go, in some cases, the thicker the type actually becomes, so it's easier to see.
Yeah,
and things like spacing change and variable fonts allow for that to happen. So
a bit like media queries, I guess, of just referencing its environment.
Exactly that. Well, it would be a media query, but rather than having to say go to Helvetica Neue and go to Condensed Light, you would be able to reference Condensed Light within the same thing. So you could do it at a much more granular level with the type itself. So
nice.
So I love that we're having a slight tiny nerd off of of this stuff. It's very good. Right, so let's just make that tiny little bit larger, just there. There we go. That'll be fine. From that, I think also we should have this so it fades in. So let's do our first bit of animation just here. I think we're going to do this at an object level. Okay, so we need the animation panel for this. We're going to choose fade in. And the next bit is great. In this panel here, the InDesign butterfly is going to remove any ambiguity we might have about what fade in actually means. All right, so watch for the butterfly. There you go. It's fading in for us going. Just in case you don't know what fade in looks like, there it is.
Yeah.
And every time I mouse over it, it does it again. So and I think that works. When do we want it to happen? So the thing is with interactivity, every interaction or every action needs a trigger with which the action should be fired. Okay, and here, okay, we're saying when the page loads, so that means like a play on stage, when all of the actors are present and the director, you know, then you can start. Yeah, and that's pretty much what it means. You do this as soon as the curtain goes up effectively here. So on page load is fine. Although you can see we've got other triggers here that we could use if we wanted to, and we will as we go on. How long do you want this to be? Now, 1 second doesn't sound like much, but anybody who's worked in motion projects or interaction projects knows quite how long a second is, but I'm still going to exceed that just for now. I'm going to make it go over 2 seconds here, which sounds like a crazy, ridiculous amount of time for that to happen. I want it to play once. Okay, the speed here is, it says it's coming from a preset. Well, that'll change, but I could also say ease that in or ease that out. Easing in is like getting into a car and driving off. Let's say the speed limit is 30 miles an hour. Yeah. You slowly, you don't get into the car and instantly travel at 30 miles an hour. It's not Star Trek. Yeah, you just sort of ease into that motion. And then you see traffic lights changing to red in front of you. So you ease out of that motion, just that for people who didn't know. Is there a function called mosey on in slowly? You could always name it that way, Steve. I just saw that out the corner of my eye. Yeah, anyway, moving on. It's only that window suddenly popped up because I've moved it. So that's great. All of the other things there are just fine. And then I've got this small button just at the bottom here, which allows me to preview this spread. So if I click on that, okay, I can then hit play here and it should render the animation. Something very wrong here at the minute. Let's just change this over to document. The panel just is not working properly. So the InDesign team told me they've fixed all the bugs in here. Let's just leave it for a moment and let's see if it just changes after a moment.
Seems like Epub has gone to the regular pub.
It's so upsetting, you know, when it doesn't work properly like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quit again. And I think it might have something to do with the OAM code. It's still sitting around resident in memory inside of InDesign. So okay. I think that's what's causing the problem. So I'm going to quit InDesign, yeah, and then relaunch it once it's quit. I think that is the issue just there. But trust me, it does work. So you can go ahead and use that good stuff. Also,
maybe maybe Epub's adopted the mosey on in on slowly.
It's possible. It is possible. Right, let's just find out what's going on here. Let's try for previewing that layout again. There we go.
There we go.
Now it's working. So I think it was possibly that if there's something wrong in the OAM code, yeah, and that may be I may be the culprit for that. No, it's not working. I can just hit play again here. Okay, and you can see that's doing exactly what we needed to do now. Right, but however, I don't want to have that white space in there for that to come out. I want it to be black. So I'm going to just take this shape at the background, okay, and extend that across here. I then also need to change where that is. So I'll send that to the back. Now we'll get a slightly different experience. So this will come to us out of black just here. So let's get that to replay. Oh, come on. We'll do it from there. And it's not doing it again. It's fine. InDesign's happy as long as I don't make any changes. It's going to be a very, very long hour. I can tell you if that's going to keep on doing that. But anyway, we'll just find out. If not, we'll just go and add some more stuff on another page. All right, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to add.
This is where we test your skills of designing blind and building all these things, and at the end,
and then
hit and publish, see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much what we're going to do. Let's go to page 2 in this particular series. So, I mean, you would lay this out. As for laying out a document, you would lay this out however you wanted it to be. You put, whatever you wanted in there. But we're here going to do some very, very simple things just so people can see what is possible inside of a document like this. So we're going to create a grid, I think, of pictures that will take us to other pages within a document. So I'm going to use a bunch of your photos just here from the library. Okay, so when that launches, something not working quite right there. I'm going to choose things that are in the same orientation. So I'm just command clicking on the landscape images.
Here's a game for those in the chat. Can you guess the locations of these images?
Ooh. They're lovely images.
I can see a curveball in there that's going to cause.
There's a square.
A lot of concern. No, as in like on a location. Could be anywhere. Absolutely anywhere.
Right, I think that's quite right. Is that Mount Fuji?
That one is, yep.
Yeah.
Fuji-san.
Fuji-san. That's good.
Got a few guesses already. Tim with Cornwall. Unfortunately, there's no Cornish images in there. Steve with a guess of Japan. There is absolutely a few in Japan. If you want to be a little bit more specific, which area of Japan? Let's drop them in and see.
We will. So I didn't prepare any frames for this at all, so I'm going to get it to lay out a grid. Just so you know, when you are using the placing cursor inside of InDesign, you should be able to use your arrow keys to navigate through the images as you're doing it. But here, again, it's refusing to play ball. So I'm just going to drag this out like so. I am now going to use my arrow keys to separate this out into groups. So I have no idea how many I picked up. Actually, I think it was 21.
It was 20, I think.
Was it? Oh, well, that's even more better.
4 by 5. 5 by 4,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll work. That'd be nice. Or would it be better to have 5 by 4? I think. Is that what you just said a moment ago?
Yeah, go 5 by 4. We got landscape then. There we go.
Yeah. There we go. Nice. And that's it. And we've got that one spare one just there. So I'm just going to hit escape to purge that cursor. So it was 21. So I've got all of those nicely placed in one go like so. And then just for demonstration, we're going to go, let me just click away from all of those things there so I don't place them all in again. How many Mount Fuji images are there? 1, 2.
I think there might only be 3. 3 very similar ones, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a guess in there if there was an image from New York, and I was waiting to see until you dropped them. There are some New York ones in the collection, but not in what you've posted.
No.
I don't think, anyway. I'm having a double check. Nope. No. Very similar.
Okay.
There is an American city in there.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, what I'm going to do is, because this one here, Joe, can you see my library at the moment?
Yep.
Yep, these ones. So this one, this one, this one, these are all Fuji-san.
Mm-hmm.
But as this one is also.
Yep.
Here, again, another similar image. What's this one?
Not that one.
Not that one. Okay, well, we've got 4 there, so it's fine. So I'll stick with that. So we're going to make the interaction happen over this. Now, we could make it so each of these things appeared if you wanted to. What you could do, and let's just do the first row of these. In fact, if I just grab all of the things here on the first row, okay, I'm going to animate those. Okay, now it's not showing me a name because, okay, I've got more than one object selected. But from the presets here, okay, I'm just going to choose appear. The InDesign butterfly confirming what appear actually means.
Yep.
Just there for us. Groovy. That's super good. We'll leave everything else there the way it is. Let's just check that. So I'm just checking. It's giving me all of these names, which of course are the file names just here. Okay. So when I'm doing these things and I'm planning for interaction, I tend to name the files for the intent I'm going to use, but you don't always have that luxury. But it is handy to know which ones are which, because what we can then do is we can go to this panel, the timing panel, and this is where you become a director at this particular point. You say when things are going to work in that sequence. Okay, so you'll see that if I click, in fact, if I select this, it should show me which one it is in the panel. However, it's not playing along, but these will just go sequentially. If you wanted them to come in as one sequence, let's do these ones just here, apply an animation to those. And just to make it separate, we'll have these ones fade in. Okay, go back to the timing panel. Now I've got to try and work out which ones are which. So quick.
Yeah, a lot of these are named by the date they were taken. So that's going to be a test of my memory.
Well, what I could do is I could actually go ahead with my links panel here, right, and find out which things are which. So This one is 205. And they're long. Your super organization file names here is very good though. Let's just try that. Is that in San Francisco? The middle one.
Quite a bit further south of San Francisco.
Okay.
There was a correct guess of it in the chat. So it was on the Pacific Highway. Also, reference to the TV show Big Little Lies, which this bridge is in the opening sequence.
Cool.
Which is a great song by Michael Kiwanuka, who I saw live actually a few years ago, and it was probably one of the best performances I've ever seen. He was outstanding. So good. Nice.
I think I just thought it was that place around near Eagle Ridge, just around the corner there. I thought it was another small bridge there. That's where I thought it was.
Yeah, it's at the northern point of Big Sur, just south of.
Oh right,
Monterey.
okay, yeah. Okay. Right, so I've got those, and I'm assuming that's these 5 files just here. I'm hoping so anyway, but we'll find out in a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell these to play together, and when you do that, they become bracketed like cool. So. It's no big deal if they're not the same files, because you'll still get the whole thing going on. So let's try for the Epub interactivity preview. And that's what's worrying me, right, is that this is not responding to any page navigation whatsoever. And in fact, the panel itself is going to, what I'm going to do is just drag that out. I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to re-invoke it from here. Let's just bring that in and see what happens this time. There we go.
There we go.
There we are. So you can see it's working just now. In fact, I think I'll just keep it that way, and I'll just double click it too. But if I just play that again, right, you can see, okay, that those images come in that sequence, and the next lot all fade in together. And so that's where those things are controlled. They're controlled in the timing panel. You can set specific timing between these. These all have a 0 seconds delay between each one, which means as one finishes, the other one starts straight away afterwards. Mm-hmm. But there may be times when you actually wanted to change that behavior, and you wanted
if you're familiar with other presentation software like Keynote, PowerPoint, this can be a very similar experience with the added benefit of InDesign and typography and better grid management and templating, swatches, and so much more control for the designer. Yeah. Definitely.
It's often baffled me why InDesign doesn't have an export format for presentations. Because so many people no one else want to use it to do them. Yeah, I don't know. You should have one, I think. Let's have that as it is. So we can see those ones just there. What I think I'll do is I'll do another group of these. Let's have them all animating now. As soon as we've got 2, I feel sorry for the other ones. So we'll go ahead and animate those. Again, we'll just choose appear. Okay, and in the timing panel, we'll go ahead and grab those. I think one's missing. And they're 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'll have to quickly scan through these and just see which ones are. That does not have appear on it. So we'll try this one. Which does, this one does, this one does, and this one does. Okay, we're good. You can see it's not a huge labor of work though to get these things going. You can see again that set will appear after that set, and this set will appear after this. And all we're doing here, okay, is just controlling when they're coming in. We're not doing anything else with them just at the moment. Okay, so there we go. Nice little cast of characters doing what they do. Play those together. Quick test. Let's see if that works. So we can see that rendering. There we go. And we just chose appear for those rather than fade in. But it would be easy enough to change those. We can simply go to them here, select them here, okay, and change the animation there to fade in. You've got all of those options. It's not like you have to stop and resume for each of those. And that one actually strangely says fade in. If curious. Okay, try that again. Yeah, I'm going to drop an email to the team after this and just say hello.
Oi.
There appears to be something going wrong. My beloved thing. Okay, so we've got those. So now what we can do is we're going to jump back to this page in just a moment. What we're going to do is get the next bit ready here. Although I guess we could kind of do that now. What we're going to do is we could add a hyperlink here. So if we wanted to go to something else, like a web page or something like that, we could do that. We could also create new destinations for things to go to as well. But I'm going to go to this panel, like the buttons and forms panel. Okay, and I am going to change this to a button. Now, here you get to select a load of different types. However, rather than clicking on button and then working through it, what you can do is simply go to the actions here. Okay, and then you can go to destination or wherever in there, and it automatically then says, all right, so I'm a button now. Naming it would be a really good idea. Okay, but there we are. So where's it going to go? It's going to go to this particular document. Okay, so you could change that or go to a different document. So
you could even go to different documents. Ah, that's cool.
You can, yeah.
So if you're really organized,
segmenting your
you could have your different portfolios, and then you could have like a master portfolio surrounding it all. Yeah. Interesting. It's food for thought.
Good stuff. So you can change that. If there's an if that's not the right interaction for you, it's easy enough, okay, to go through and just remove.
So would you have to have that second document open in some way? Or
no, as long as it can find it. But they do have to be in a relative location. Yeah. So if they're littered across your hard drive in different places, that might cause you problems. It's a good idea to collect especially if they move one folder in the first place. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just going to say this is none. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just back up from there, because what I want to do here is, I think, go to page just here. So go to page. I'll use that action this time. Which page do I want to go to? I want to go to page 3 of 3. I'm going to keep the zoom level as it is, although you can see here that I do have options. So if you wanted to create certain navigable points within a page, then you could do that as well, just there. Let's just call this one Fuji one as well, because it's
just thinking of different use case for what you're building. So essentially we're making an interactive document that presumably could work well on, say, something like an iPad. If you're in an interview,
it would work perfectly on an iPad. Perfectly on an iPad.
And showing your work, could be photos, could be design work, portfolio-based things. Yeah,
they will work
door-to-door sales on prints. What would you like?
Yeah, you could do whatever you could do. There's loads of things you can do with it. It is effectively a website, a sort of website contained within a publishing mechanism that looks after all of the media queries for you. Yeah. So the idea is that it can be viewed on any modern smart device. So Android, iPhone, iPad. For all I know, even something like the Tesco Hubble. I've never tried that because I don't even know if they still make that thing, and I've never even seen one. But they might even be mythical. They may not be a real thing. But I just know there's a name. That is the name of the thing.
Maybe you'll find it outside in your Tesco Alfresco.
Tesco Alfresco with fresco. Yeah, that's next week's show with Joe and I. We'll be drawing outside of my local Tesco's in fresco. So
with a meal deal.
Yeah, Tesco fresco alfresco. Okay, so that's good. From there, what we'll do is we will go to the next page here. So page 3, like so. And then we're just going to add some content just for a moment so we can see some other content on this page. Okay, so I'll go to my library. Just here, I'm going to pick up that image and that image and that image. That will do. Okay, so I'm going to drag those in. like so. And I'm going to park those across the top here. So I'm just going to use my arrow keys now twice here to do that. Actually, I wonder if it'd be better as a, no, we'll leave it on that.
And
So
just for avoidance of doubt, because I think there was a question earlier about how you did that. So you're using the down and the left and right, right for your
up
columns,
and down, left
and
and right. In fact, I'll do that again, and I'll describe it as I do it. So I'm just going to drag these in. So it's not just from content you drag in from the library. And if you're placing content, if you're selecting a range of images, you can do this. In fact, even when you're drawing, you can do this. So if I just start dragging like so, it's taking on the aspect ratio of the content just here. I'm going to hit my up arrow, which will add a new row. Okay, like so. My down arrow will remove a row. My right arrow will add columns. My left arrow will remove columns. Like so, and you can
then
choose it as a
adjusting the gutter space between them. Do you have control of that as well?
That is actually controlled by the margins, the gutters that you have between pages, so that it takes that on from the document
page layout.
setup.
Yeah.
So it gets that from the first place. However, if you did want to change the gaps, you could always use the gap tool in InDesign. So if I tap U on my keyboard, that gets me the gap tool. You'll see that if I move into a gap, I can change the gap between objects like so. Okay, there's several different ways I can do this. So if I hold down the Command key, I can change the gaps at the same time, like that. If I just undo that, if I hold down the Shift key, I can change it in another way. And if you're thinking, and if you're writing this down, by the way, if there was a Tesco in San Francisco, we could be al fresco in San Francisco at a Tesco with fresco. Thanks, Tim. If you're writing this down, stop writing down. Stop writing it down and thinking, oh yeah, I could do that. Hold down this key. I'll show you how you can find the modifiers and the shortcuts for pretty much any tool in InDesign in one place. So if you're learning InDesign, you'll find this to be a really valuable tip. Go to the window menu, make your way all the way down to utilities, and you will see this panel here called Tool Hints. Okay, select that and then just park that wherever you want it to be. You can tell that at the moment, because I have the selection tool active, it tells me what the tool does. So it selects, it moves, it resizes and transforms page items. It tells me what will happen if I hold down the Shift key, the Command key, and it will say Control if you're on Windows, the Option key or Alt if you're on Windows, and the arrow keys. And it tells me the shortcut to get to it, V and Escape. Escape only really works when you're in an active text field, or text box. Okay, it gives you tips on how to use it. So if I tap U,
cheat sheet.
It's nice.
Yeah,
it's nice. Yeah, it's a good way to learn it. I wish they did this for all of the products, really, because it would really help people to learn. So I've just selected the gap tool just here. It tells me what it does, and then gives me the modifier. Right, so you can see resize the gap instead of move it. Okay, move the page items instead of resizing. So that's what I want, is the Option key. So now if I hold down the Option key and get my gap, now I can move that like so. Okay,
nice.
And I can use the arrow keys too if I want to as well on there. However, let's just try that with the Option, and I'm moving all of the content now, everything connected to the gap. And that's because I'm using the right Option key on my keyboard. That's the only struggle I would have, is using the left Option key, which I'm doing right now. The left Option key, and the arrow keys from my keyboard. That would be kind of difficult. It's quite a stretch, even for me. And I can do a full octave on the piano, but there you go. Anyway, the gap tool is there. So if you did need to change any of the gaps, move content around, that's how you would do it, just from there. So just change those things, nice and easy. All right.
Nice.
Anyway, we've got those. I think what I'm going to do is, because these images are quite similar, okay, and I just wanted to reinforce that behavior of grid placement. I think I'm going to take away this one. And then these two here, I'm just going to align them to the left. And then I'm just going to set them to fill the frame proportionally. Just there, of course, this frame would have to have made it a different size, haven't I? So I'll do that again. I used to know the shortcut for that. I think it's Shift Option Command C. It is. There you go. Somebody tabulated all of the shortcuts in InDesign once. I think there's 2,000 and some odd shortcuts in there.
Get them tattooed up your arm.
You'd need arms like Tim's. In fact, I don't even think that would fit on Tim's arm. I think you'd have to use one of his legs. To do it. Sorry, Tim. Okay, so we've got that bit working there. Right, I'm just going to go back to the previous page just now, right? Because remember, this is where our interaction is. And I am going to go back to preview that page, right? So I'm going to go back to our buttons and forms panel and just click down here to get it to re-render. However, when I want to do anything that crosses the boundaries between pages, I have to enable this option, okay, to set the preview to the document mode. That sometimes slows down what you actually see in this panel, because it means it basically has to collect all of the information together before it starts actually working. So when I click play this time, waiting for a moment or two is kind of fair dues for this. Now, I gave myself no way of moving on from this page here. I'm not too worried about that at the moment, but I can click the arrow down at the bottom. So this page starts to load like so. Okay, and then I'm going to click on this image and you can see I'm now taken through to this page. Right, it's all pretty straightforward stuff. Nice and easy to do that. So that's all working so far. It's just another thing, always make sure stuff is working. Let's try something else clever and see if we can break it again. So
just wondering, I might be thinking too far ahead here. Is there a way that we could create almost like a template of, you apply your styles to one of those thumbnails that takes you to a page, and then you're able to formulate that across all of the different thumbnails so that they take to a respective page? Is there a way of templating that activity and then you just choose the page?
That's interesting. I've never actually tried that with empty frames, but we can give that a go in a minute. The thing is, because it uses object IDs underneath, so InDesign is built on XML. Yeah, and so everything that gets, you never see the IDs underneath, but it's like Illustrator, they have an XML ID underneath. And so the interaction works between addressing that, because that's the thing that we can't change, only the program can change it.
Yeah.
Well, you can go into there is an XML, there is an XML panel in there somewhere. I can't remember where that is. Or, oh no, it's not in that way. It's a view. You actually get a panel that opens up on the side of the document.
All right.
That shows you the root structure. In fact, I think it's actually called, or is it a view? It's a view, not a panel. So you would have to go to view and structure, show structure, right? And then it drills us down from the root, and then anything that's tagged in there. So things would have to be tagged. First, it would actually show you that structure, and then you can do some stuff inside of there. But we don't need that for now. That's all good. Right, so what we are going to do is use this browser, and we're going to go to maps.google.com. Right, so
nope, missing an O.
Google, there you go. So there we are, that's better. And I'm going to search on Mount Fuji. Okay, that is a zoom level that I don't really want there, so I'm going to zoom out a bit. So let's go for something that's slightly more, got a bit of country in it. in fact, the whole country with that, that map in there, or a large chunk of the country. What I'm going to do then is go to the menu just here, share or embed the map. I am going to choose embed a map, and I'm going to say copy the HTML. So that's giving me an iframe. Now, I thought that iframes would have gone the way of the dinosaurs ages ago, but they are all the rage again now. Do you know what an iframe is, Joe? An inline frame?
Yes. So it is a website within a website, pretty much.
It is. Yeah.
You just take a whole website, mask it to what you want. Even things like those, the little tweet buttons, the Facebook like button, is just loading a whole website and only showing a little bit of it.
It's like a mega sprite sheet.
Yeah.
An unbelievable sprite sheet. What I'm going to do here now is I am going to go to the object menu, and I'm going to choose insert HTML. And then inside of this panel, right, look at this. How bad is this? Can you read what it says here? This is a B HTML snippet /B. Right, so that's like bad old HTML. Yeah, it's got no meaning whatsoever.
Well, B is for bad.
B is for bad. And we should put that in I tags. Joe and I are again nerding off on tags. What that should actually say should be strong inside of there, because that's good old semantic HTML, and italic would be replaced by EM for emphasis. Anyway, right, I'm going to paste in the HTML just there. So this says, this is creating an iframe. The source attribute, okay, is where it's coming from. And then there's a load of data there that Google Maps understands. There's a whole bunch of stuff. We've then got a width and a height just here. We can change those numbers, but because we're doing it in InDesign, we can actually resize that visually as well. So I'm going to leave that at 600 by 450. Just for, in fact, yeah, because that's pretty much halfway across there. So, and it tells us, will it allow full screen? We can actually change that by saying true in there, although it's not going to work in Publish Online, so I'd leave it for that. Loading is lazy, so it's not going to prioritize over anything else. So I'm going to hit OK and give it a minute, and there we go. There is, okay, our Google map. Now we can go ahead and resize.
Just thinking even further,
frame.
if you wanted to get really technical on building your portfolio, say you've got ideas of how you might want to collect together some things, you might be a web designer and you're wanting to create a portfolio of your latest designs, but they're websites that are kind of dynamically updated throughout the day. You could potentially put your website into an iframe, put it within your portfolio, and then your portfolio is always up to date with how the website currently looks.
Good way of doing it.
That could be a cool way of doing it.
Yeah, very good way of doing it. I like it.
Or even video.
So there we go.
Video in this?
Yes, you can. We're going to, in a minute, we're going to nick something off of your YouTube channel. We're going to stick it in on the very next page, actually. But there you go. So like, read my mind. Let's just test this page now and see what happens here. So let's see if this refreshes. Like so. So I'm just going to hit play. Oh, it's in full document mode, so it's going to load the whole document again. Just there. So we're just going to have to wait for that to load. Just for a moment. Let's click through to this page. There we go. Now that is not resizing at the moment, so I need to just check a couple of things on there. And what I could do is go to the HTML and change that as well if I want to. But at the moment, all I'm worried about is that you can see that in there. Let me just resize this window again, just so you can see. I'm just going to go for single spread mode and just refresh it, because this is completely active. In here, you can see that as I scroll, it's retrieving all of the map. Yeah. And these are all things that you can control. Okay, there are various different ways of doing it. There are articles that exist on the web that will tell you about placing map markers to constrict, and you can actually get it so that they will zoom in and out as well. in a more successful way than the way I've done there. So it's all, it's not a huge
Google
learning
Maps
curve.
even has a brilliant map making tool. So I've done it plenty of times when we plan our trips. I go into, I think it's called Google My Maps or something, and you can plan, say like this was from a road trip or a rail trip. Go through and you can plan all your route. You can draw the lines between them, add points of interest. You could then go and re-add pins. So I've actually, on my maps, I've added these photos onto pins from the location that they were taken from.
Nice.
And then you could share that map with someone else if they want to do the same trip, or embed it in a document like this.
Yeah. See, that makes for a really, really rich experience, which is what this is. This is kind of about just here. I'm going to resize that back to the original. Of course, in reality, you would probably have, some text content or whatever in there. And again, if I wanted to edit the HTML, I could go ahead and do that too. So I can play with all that stuff. Okay, so
question actually, question in the chat, which I wanted to address. So asking, is it legal to place a Google map? And this is one of those great things about the internet when features are available and, they've created an iframe thing. It's to encourage you to do things like this. If it was illegal, if they didn't want you to do it, they wouldn't have the feature available. So absolutely, this is a perfectly fine use of it. If you were to go around and, start stealing other things and creating your own scripture of whatever. But likewise, the tools exist. They're there to be used.
When you'll notice that when the map is in use, that the identifiers for who the data belongs to and where it comes from are there at the bottom of that map.
Yeah.
So it says that who the geospatial data belongs to, who the copyright holder is. If you try and obfuscate that in any way, then you might be in dodgy territory.
I imagine in that terms of use link right under your cursor there, it probably says something about if you were to cover, place a PNG frame over the top, covering the logo and other things.
You'd be in hot water, or you run the risk of being in hot water for that. But otherwise, you're using something which is designed, as you said, to be used, in that way. Let's go back to here. By the way, you can do loads of other things to play with this stuff. I mean, that's just a starting point, just there for you to work with, and that's a great idea about saving your own map stuff, and the mind map thing is really good. Let's go to your YouTube channel, Joe.
Yep.
Which is
/ Joe Allam.
Yep. Ta-da. Let's see what y'all been up to. Ooh, you do memberships. I don't do memberships yet. Oh, serene. Who was mentioning Cornwall earlier? There's some Cornwall there, Joe.
Tim mentioned Cornwall. That was my most recent trip. Originally planned as a holiday. Of course, I took all my cameras. Ended up doing a load of work. Can't resist.
Oh dear. Let's keep this in the context of Mount Fuji. So let's go for this one.
And that is the trip where that image was taken.
Right. So what I'm going to do this time, is I'm going to go for share. And I'm going to copy that link from there. So I've got that on the clipboard. Let's just drop that down into my doc. Sorry about bombing you with your own photos. This time, I am going to place some media. Now, we do have a media panel here. So that takes a moment to launch because it has to do all sorts of other stuff in here. So we've got the option to place media from a URL. Perhaps wants me to draw a frame for that content. Let's go ahead and do that. By the way, when you're talking about when you were saying about putting things over the top of things, interactive objects tend to live on their own layer above things. So they get added above other content.
I see.
Doesn't matter where you put them in your layout. Interactive objects are they're called bubbled up to the top. So I'm going to go video from URL, Okay, I'm then going to paste the URL. Now, I've had this reject before because it's got a secure layer on it. Okay, but let's just see if it likes it now. You see, it must contain HTTP as a prefix, and I honestly thought that was fixed. So I'm just going to take that out. Okay, and I've got it. Okay, it wants the whole thing. It won't have the short link from there. So what I'd have to do is actually grab the entire URL, which is why I just moved it down to my dock just here. Okay, so let's just close this out. And if I grab,
just wondering if, so this is, you're taking from the URL and pasting it as media. Is this using OEmbed technology?
I don't think it is.
So
I don't think it is. I'm not sure.
Or would we have to go down the iframe route again?
Might have to go down the iframe route. But generally here, you need to, this is the problem because it's on YouTube. I would actually need to specify an MP4.
To the actual
that's
file.
The problem it's having
link.
at the moment. It's saying, it's just saying I don't know. So it'd be a file that's you've got. Have you got any on your website that we could think of?
No, they're all hosted.
All hosted.
All hosted via YouTube. So yeah, I think iframe would be the route we'd have to go. But if you had access to where they were stored directly on the server, then yeah, put the direct URL.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to go about this a slightly different way. Is I'm going to place a file. We're going to let's bring in an MP4 from here. So if you've got the file locally, let's see what that one is. There you go. That's from our title shot. Just there. Nice. We'll use that.
Just a regular weekend.
Yeah. There you go. That's how it rolls, mate.
I love how you can just search MP4 and that's what comes up.
Yeah, I was surprised by that myself, actually. I was thinking it was going to be a drawing that I've done recently. But there you go. I think that would have been the thing that came to the top. But anyway, so here's my video. Right, if I go back, the media panel, by the way, should, whenever I select video, light up with stuff. So there's something going wrong with my installation of InDesign here, which has been evident throughout the morning. So it shouldn't, your experience of it will hopefully be better than what I've got going on just here. But let's just see what happens in the preview. I should make this larger. Never work with children, animals, and software. So you can see that playing like so. Right, now the media panel is also just a really rubbish loose mask around that, which is somehow showing. I think it must have been one of the pieces that we dropped in. But anyway, we'll leave that for now. Right, the media panel, which should be showing me the movie and should allow me to do various different things, and whether or not it shows a controller, that's the bar that ran across the bottom there. Okay, you can make your own controller. So I'm going to make a very, very simple controller here, okay, by using a polygon. So I'm going to go ahead and here I'm going to draw this slightly differently. Now, here's the thing. See what the arrow keys are doing right now? You can see that I'm drawing an array like so. Okay, so that's me using my arrow keys. In InDesign, there is a switch when you're drawing. If I hit the space bar, the mode changes. So now if I use my down arrow, it's changing the number of star points just there. And if I use my left arrow, it's changing the star inset, which at its maximum will give me a triangle, like so. And if I wanted an array of triangles, I could hit the space bar again and then change the mode back to there. It's just one of those little things that, you know.
All these hidden shortcuts built upon layers of years.
And that's the thing. Yeah, I think that's what's attacking it at the moment as well. But there you are. Right, so I've got that shape just there. Of course, it could be an image, could be anything. You can make interactive elements out of many, many things. I've got that just here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the buttons and forms panel, which isn't letting me down at the moment, which is very, very good. Okay, and from here, I'm going to click the actions and go to video, like so. And it's found this video. If there was more than one video, you would choose it from this drop-down list. What do I want it to do? And you can see here, I can make it play, or so you can make your own controller essentially. Play, pause, resume, or play from a navigation point, what used to be known as a cue point. Yeah, so if you put cue points through your video, okay, then you could specify to go to a cue point. And people
up to different points in the timeline. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can in YouTube these days. You can just do that, and you normally see key moments in there. And in fact, they're even being added by artificial intelligence. There you go. So do that and play. Like the video itself, which I can't get to the media panel to tell it not to autoplay at the moment, but we'll have a go. We'll see what happens with this. So we'll let that load. And there's mischief going on just there. Now if I click that, there you go.
There we go.
In fact, I'm even getting the music from it in my ears. You're probably not getting that, but
no, I'm getting that as well.
There you are.
Brilliant.
So you can do that. Let's just try for one more. Well, we need to try for two more things, actually. I just want to try for one other thing. And what I'm going to do is go back to the first page just here. And very quickly, I am going to go to Joe's Travels. I'm going to go to that Illustrator file just here. Bring that in. Okay. Just bring it in nice and small like that. There we go. We'll take that off over this side just here. Okay, and we'll go to the animation panel, and I think we will from here choose to fly in from the right. InDesign Butterfly once again helping us out with that one. Okay, so it's going to move that around. Now I can, if I want to, find the different locations for this and change things here. I'm going to take this over to the right-hand side, like that. The path here is something you can actually work with. I'm going to stretch the path out, so it's going to go much longer. Now, if I actually play that, you can see the easing going on there because each one of these things is a frame. That's going to be very, very fast over 1 second. And I think originally I'd said we'd do this over 7 seconds, and you can see how the frames are changing there and the easing is working for us. Let's just do that. I'll tell you what we didn't do with all of the stuff with the restarts is we didn't do a multi-state object, which is a shame, but anyway. Oh, and it's got fading on. So let's just take that off. So we'll choose none, just there, play that again.
There we go.
A little car going past, which is kind of cute. Again, you could change the timing of that using the timing panel, which is great. It's coming in after that anyway, which is fantastic. So that works. I'm going to do one very quick multi-state object. I'm going to align these two things together. Okay, so I'm going to go to my align panel and I'll align them to the horizontal and vertical centers. I'm going to repurpose. Actually, I won't repurpose that button. I'll make one for it in a minute. So I'm going to select both things. That one is on top of the other. I'm going to go to Object States, create a new multi-state object. Whichever one of these is highlighted is the one you'll see first. Just there. And then underneath here, I'm going to create two shapes. I'm going to create one shape. Then I'm going to duplicate that like so, and just spin that around the other way and just make two very quick buttons, and then we'll get this uploaded. We'll be about 2 minutes over, I think. So I'll go to buttons and forms, and this time I'm going to go to I'm going to go to the MSO. So I'm going to put go to state. In fact, I'll just do go to next state just here. You can go to a specific state. There's only one multi-state object on here, so that's all I need to do. And if I go to this button, and then I'll just choose go to previous state from there, that's all good. There's a load of other little things you can do with that. Let's just test that
So
layout.
essentially building a mini gallery and
Mini
controls
gallery.
for it.
So you can see that I can cycle through those like that. There's only 2 there, so I'm going to the previous one there, but I could go to the next one. If I've got 3, that would be more obvious. But both buttons are working just there. Once you've got those things in, and once you've done everything else and you're happy with it inside of the preview panel, this is where you go ahead and publish it online. So you go to the file menu, you choose publish online, and then after a moment, this panel will open.
Can we not print it?
A new name.
Can we not print it?
You can print it, but the interaction will take quite a while. It will be somewhat redundant. But anyway, it's Joe's Travels. We're going to do all the pages. We could allow people to download it as a PDF and say no, hide the share and embed options. I'm going to leave that as it is. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it just tells me document contains embedded HTML. It will only support HTML content from select websites only. So it's got like a safe list of things that will allow things to be on. So you can't just go doing anything naughty with it. Okay, so it's got like a white list of those things. I prefer the term safe list, however. So it's uploading that just at the moment. And once it's done, it will give me a link that I can share. That will also allow me to preview as well. I'll have to bring the things. So if I just view the documents now, that's loading in another window over here somewhere. Where have we gone?
Good question here. Could I save it to a DVD and give people to play in their DVD players? And a soundtrack on a cassette alongside?
I'm going to, do you know what? I'm going to hazard a guess at who's making that comment, right? Because I can't see them again at the moment. I think, based on my analysis of the content of the chat, I think that comes from Reverb Mike. Am I right?
Absolutely correct.
There you go. See, there you go. Just so predictable, Reverb Mike. But thank you anyway. You saw that the first page played out there on load as we wanted it to, and the car moved across here. I haven't built in a navigation from this point because there's a navigation that I can use here. I can just use this system. Although, if your document was occupying a full screen, it would be an idea for you to include your own navigation. But there you go. You can see how that's working. There's my map content, so it's on the safe list. I'm not going to play the movie just there, but you can see that I can play it in 3 different ways. Just there. You can also replace the poster, so you see different content instead of the movie in the first place.
Nice.
From there. The media panel would have helped me out with that one. And here's the multi-state object working from there. So we didn't get a beautifully, elegantly made design, but you saw how that can work.
Well, sometimes that's one of the best ways of just showing off the features. Already has sparked so much inspiration and idea. I could imagine if I was, a recent graduate and wanting to, I keep thinking of putting together a portfolio and, how that would work. I would potentially look to this and think, well, here's a way of standing out amongst the crowd because you've made something interactive. You're showing off skills of thinking of user experience and, the journey of how you actually build it, and you're building it for you to use. But likewise, you could easily pass it to someone else in the remote world that we're in these days. Great way of sort of curating your work and everything interactively. Brilliant.
Yeah, there you go.
And then
it's a good thing to do.
Then it's down to you to make the elegant design, and that's where you'd spend hours and hours doing all your paragraph styles and other things, piecing together your typography, and that's where the fun is on a lot of things. Some may disagree, but I'd say you're wrong.
A lot of the things that you're seeing there, those methods, animation, timing, object states, the buttons side of it, adding hyperlinks and adding media. A lot of those are supported by the FXL Epub format. So if you wanted to create what's called a fixed layout Epub, you could do that directly from here. So if you wanted to publish to something like iBooks, you could do that directly from here. In fact, I did Julian Calverley's iPhone only, but Julian Calverley's a photographer who does lots of stuff with Alpa. He's like an Alpa ambassador. So he's got, like a 10 grand or whatever it is back for his camera and all of that stuff. But he noticed that he was making more and more photographs of his setup when he was in a particular location. The iPhone was becoming more capable. So he did a book called iPhone Only, shots he did just on his iPhone. But I did his book from InDesign in that way, just a tiny bit of code tweaking afterwards. So there you go.
Cool. Well, thank you, Tony. You've gone through a whole host of things there. We've done 124 minutes in total. So absolutely XXL for this one.
Yeah, there we go.
Great stream. Plenty of food for thought on other stuff. I believe I will be revisiting InDesign in a future stream at some point. I think September, maybe. So looking forward to that. I'm probably going to be taking a bit more of a traditional approach on print-based things. I've got some ideas on books and layouts, and probably using some of the same images, to be honest, piecing that together. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you, Tony, for showing stuff, and we will see you in a Adobe Live very soon.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Cheers then. Bye-bye.